Okay, so I want you to just forget everything you think you know about influence. All the stuff about chasing likes and followers. Today, we're diving into a really powerful framework from the strategy group Oxford Private Studios. It's about how to build an actual architecture for influence, a system that's designed from the ground up to scale and to do it predictably. Let's get right into it.
Right off the bat, you can see the huge shift in thinking here. On the left, that's the old game, right? Chasing these fleeting metrics, followers, likes, reach. But the OPS model flips the script entirely. It's about trading followers for real connectedness, trading likes for genuine trust, and trading simple reach for something they call resonance, which is just a brilliant way of saying your ideas are living rent-free in people's minds.
So this new model is called network architecture. And the two most important words on this slide are intentional and predictable. This is not about hoping you go viral. It's not about luck. It's about systematically engineering a structure where every single connection you make actually strengthens the entire system. It's influence by design, not by chance.
And here's how you actually build it, broken down into the simplest actions. I want you to picture a web. Every time someone shares your content, they create a node, a new point of strength in that web. And every interaction, a comment or reply, that builds a bridge connecting those nodes. Your job is to build the densest, strongest web you possibly can.
So what is it that actually powers this network? Well, that brings us to the very first piece of the architecture, what they call the Trinity Model Engine.
The engine is this really elegant three-stage loop. First, you start with content to grab people's attention. Then you channel that attention into a community, which is where that attention gets multiplied. And finally, commerce comes in to reward all that attention. The beauty of it is that each stage just fuels the next one, creating this incredibly powerful, self-reinforcing cycle.
Now this is the secret sauce to the whole engine. The rewards. They're not just kept by the person at the center. They're shared across the entire network. Think about it. When the same people who are amplifying your message also get to participate in the reward, their motivation just goes through the roof. You've just transformed a passive audience into an active, invested team.
So how do you even begin to build this? Well, OPS suggests you start small with what they call a micro-network trio. You just need 3 roles: a creator to provide the initial spark, an analyzer to figure out what's working and optimize it, and a connector to amplify the message and grow the network. This little trio becomes the seed that your entire network can grow from.
All right, so we've got the engine in place. Now let's get into how it grows. And not just grows, but grows exponentially. This is what we'll call the physics of scale. The first principle here is something called network mass. The analogy is actually pretty simple. You know how gravity increases with physical mass? Well, influence works the same way. It increases with the connectedness of your network. This mass is the combined energy of everyone who shares your belief. The more you build it up, the stronger your gravitational pull becomes.
And this chart shows you exactly why that matters. When you're just starting out with low connectedness, your impact is tiny. It can feel like you're getting nowhere. But as you build, you eventually hit a critical mass, a threshold. And once you cross that line, your growth explodes. It becomes exponential. You become, as the source material says, statistically unavoidable. The second principle of scale is just as critical. And honestly, it's a huge mistake that so many people make. It's not about just churning out more and more content. It's not about volume. It's about synchronization, getting your network to act at the same time. This is what most people do, right? You scatter your posts throughout the week. A post on Monday, one on Wednesday, another on Friday. The result? The energy from each one fizzles out before the next one even lands. You never build any real momentum because all the engagement is totally spread out.
Now, look at the difference here. When you synchronize your posts within a single 24-hour window, you create these overlapping waves of engagement. One person's interaction boosts visibility for the next person, and it just creates this cascade effect. According to OPSSSN, this simple shift can actually triple your probability of engagement. It's the difference between a single firecracker and a full-on fireworks show.
And here is the actual actionable protocol to make it happen. It's a simple 3-step process. First, you announce what you're sharing. Second, you get your network to amplify it within that critical 24-hour window. And third, and this is so important, you acknowledge everyone who participated. That creates this powerful feedback loop that strengthens all the connections and keeps the network's heartbeat strong.
Okay, so we've got the engine and we've got the physics of scale. But what makes the network durable? What makes it last?
Well, the third piece is learning to treat feedback, not as a simple reaction, but as the very infrastructure of the network itself.
Now, to really get this, we have to go back to that idea of reach versus resonance. Remember, reach is just a fleeting impression. Someone scrolls past your content and it's gone. Resonance is when your idea actually takes root in their memory. It's when your message starts living rent-free in their mind. That's the real prize.
So how do you build for resonance? Through feedback. Every single comment, every share, every DM is more than just a reaction. It's a structural beam. Each one of them reinforces the entire architecture, making the whole thing stronger and much more resilient. I love this way of thinking about it. When you're engaging in a conversation, you're not just talking. You are actively building roads inside your network. You're paving these pathways that make it easier for trust and influence to travel, which strengthens the entire ecosystem.
So, you put all these pieces together, the engine, the physics, the infrastructure, and it all requires one final thing, a complete shift in your mindset. It's time to stop thinking like a participant and start thinking like an architect.
You should really think of your network like a brain. You see, no single neuron is intelligent all on its own. The intelligence, the consciousness, it emerges from the connections between them. In exactly the same way, your network becomes a kind of collective intelligence when enough people, enough signals all fire together.
And of course, a smart network is a learning network. This is where a concept called recursion comes in. Now, that might sound technical, but it's a simple idea. It's a system that learns from its own outputs to improve itself. The data from one campaign is used to make the next campaign even more effective. The network literally evolves.
And this means that whenever you participate in a network like this, your actions have a dual purpose. Yes, you might earn something, but you also teach. The data that you generate from your successes and even your failures helps the entire ecosystem get smarter. It's this incredible model of mutual evolution, where everyone's success lifts up the entire network.
And that really brings us to the final question. The one thing I want you to take away from all of this. I want you to look at your own work, whatever it is you're doing, and ask yourself this one simple question. Are you just posting, or are you building an architecture? Because the answer could change everything.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a really close look, a deep dive into the engine room of influence itself. We're analyzing the source material on Oxford Private Studios, or OPS, network architecture.
Yeah, and we're definitely not talking about basic social media tips here.
No, exactly. This is about the blueprint, isn't it? How influence is actually engineered and scaled.
That's spot on. Our mission today is to kind of bypass all the noise about vanity metrics, follower counts, surface level likes. That's not the focus.
Right.
We're looking at the predictable engineered structure OPS uses. They want to make sure influence scales reliably across different people, different platforms, and importantly, over time. It's not left to chance.
And the core idea here, the thing that really flips the usual thinking, is this thesis that influence is fundamentally about structure. It's not just about, say, a charismatic person. Oxford Private Studios seems to have designed this system where literally everyone involved, an affiliate, an artist, even an audience member engaging, they all become a necessary part of this single living network.
Okay, so let's start unpacking that architecture. Where does it begin?
Well, the sources talk about this invisible web that successful creators sit inside.
An invisible web.
Yeah, and it's not just a loose metaphor for community. It's described as a network built with specific mechanisms. Things like trust and, crucially, timing are engineered in, so you're not just relying on luck or random virality.
Okay, and this is where it gets a bit technical, but it seems really core to understanding it. OPS uses specific terms to map this web out. Every action, like a share, a tag, a referral, they call that a node.
Right, a node.
And then the interactions, the connections between those nodes, those are the bridges.
Exactly. And the key insight they pull from this mapping is fascinating. It's a kind of structural law. The denser you build that web, so the more nodes and bridges you actively create, the faster information moves through it.
And income, too, presumably.
And income, yes. Information and income velocity increases with density. So density equals velocity. Why is that structurally so important? I mean, if I have 10 connections versus 20, why is the network with 20 fundamentally faster? What's the mechanism?
Well, it's about redundancy and path length. More density means fewer single points of failure. If information only has, say, 10 ways to get somewhere, it's easier to block.
Okay.
But if it has 20 overlapping paths or bridges, it finds a way through. That density basically guarantees momentum. It helps ensure the message gets through, even if one platform's algorithm tries to downplay it.
Right, that makes sense. Resilience through connection. And this whole structure, this dense web, it's built around a core framework they call the OPS Trinity model. Let's break down those 3 C's.
Okay, the Trinity. It's content, community, and commerce. Pretty straightforward at first glance. Content is there to grab the initial attention.
The hook.
The hook, exactly. Then community, its job is multiplication. It takes that initial spark of attention and expands it, encouraging people to share, interact, even co-create.
Okay, so content draws, community multiplies. Then commerce rewards that attention. But the reward part, that seems to be where OPS really diverges from, say, the standard influencer model.
Absolutely. That's a key difference. Most systems focus on paying the central figure, the star. OPS structures the commerce stage through an affiliate network. Meaning every single voice that helps amplify the message, every active participant in that network gets a piece of the pie. They're structurally invested in the success.
Okay, so it's not just thanks for the share, it's here's your cut. The sources call that a genius move, right?
They do.
Yeah.
Because by sharing the reward, you're not just getting promotion, you're turning collaborators into actual stakeholders.
Yeah.
They now have a built-in structural reason to want the whole network to succeed, not just their own little piece of it.
Which naturally encourages them to build more connections, more density.
You got it. It creates a structural incentive for density.
For someone listening thinking, okay, I want to apply this structurally, how do they start? How do you build your own little micro network mirroring this OPS approach?
Well, you start with intentional design, not just grabbing anyone. You talk about creating a seed cluster.
Seed cluster.
Yeah, and it's not just any 3 contacts. It has to be 3 people filling specific roles for balance. It mirrors how OPS builds internal teams.
And these roles are creative, analytical, and social, with those catchy titles, the spark, the optimizer, and the amplifier.
Exactly. The spark brings the original idea, the content fuel. The optimizer tracks what's working, refines the approach based on data. They're focused on the bridges, making them efficient. And the amplifier is all about network density connecting, broadcasting, reaching new areas. This specific trio is fundamental for balanced growth.
Okay, let's make that practical. Say I'm an independent researcher. I've got a complex white paper on, I don't know, future tech. My spark is obviously me. Who are the other 2?
Okay, good example. Your optimizer would be someone really good at tracking metrics. Which headlines get clicks? Which email subjects get opened? Is the download page converting well? They refine the pathways.
Right, data-driven.
Absolutely. Your amplifier, though, their focus is purely outreach. Getting that paper to journalists, influencers, relevant online communities, managing the spread. Without all 3 legs in the stool.
The paper might be great, but it doesn't get the momentum or the structural support it needs. Okay, that really clarifies the difference between just getting help and building structural roles. So once you have that seed cluster, that initial structure, then you encounter what they call the main scaling principle, the law of network mass.
Yeah, it's a great analogy they use. Physics tells us gravity increases with mass.
Right.
OPS applies this idea to influence. They found that influence increases directly with connectedness, which they term network mass.
Okay, but how do you measure that? Network mass being the combined energy of everyone who shares a belief sounds a bit abstract. How is collective belief measurable?
Well, they aren't measuring the feeling itself. They measure the actions that belief generates, specifically the momentum from shared action. It's about structural density and synchronous activity.
Oh, okay.
When enough people are sharing the same thing, using the same links around the same time, that collective effort becomes quantifiable. It reaches a tipping point.
And that's the payoff moment, isn't it? Once your network mass hits a certain calculated threshold, the big platforms, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, they apparently stop seeing your content as just noise.
Exactly. You become, as the source puts it, statistically unavoidable.
Statistically unavoidable. I like that.
The algorithms start pushing your content not because they love it necessarily, but because ignoring the energy of your coordinated network would actually hurt their engagement metrics. The structure becomes too big to ignore.
And that predictability connects back to some math principles mentioned in the sources, like Markov chains, right? For calculating the likelihood of engagement.
Yeah, they use models like Markov chains to figure out the probability of moving from, say, state A, seeing a post, to state B, clicking, sharing, engaging.
Okay.
They essentially map their network's interactions to maximize that transition probability. How likely is one action to trigger the next desired action?
And the key lever they pull to maximize those odds is synchronization. It's not just volume, it's timing.
Precisely. The timing of the network's actions is critical. This is a huge insight from the sources. When affiliates share content synchronously, like within a tight 24-hour window, the odds of someone going from just seeing it to actually engaging, it apparently triples.
Triples. Wow. Okay, so synchronization is the built-in accelerator.
It really is.
Which means you need clear rules.
Yeah.
The material lays out the OPS sync protocol. 3 steps for the learner. 1, announce the content. 2, amplify within 24 hours. 3, acknowledge others in network.
And that third step, acknowledge, is really important. It's not just being nice. It transforms a temporary spike in activity into lasting structural density.
How so?
By publicly recognizing others who shared or engaged, you keep the engagement cycles overlapping. It reinforces the shared reward idea we talked about, and it actually increases the predictability of payouts for everyone involved. The system literally feeds itself through acknowledgement.
Okay, so that covers speed, scale, and predictability through synchronization. Let's shift gears slightly. From immediate impact to long-term influence, OPS makes this key distinction between reach and resonance.
Yeah, this is crucial for longevity. Reach is just visibility, how many people saw it today. Simple eyeballs.
Right.
Resonance, though, that's about memory.
Yeah.
It's getting your ideas to stick, to live, as they say, rent-free in people's minds. Resonance is where the lasting structural impact lies.
So how do they engineer that? It's not just catchy slogans, is it? They talk about using emotional anchors.
Exactly. Instead of just a memorable phrase, they aim for something that resonates deeper, emotionally. An anchor.
And when the audience starts repeating that message, maybe even in their own words without being prompted?
They've done more than just parrot a tagline. They've internalized that anchor. And in doing that, the source argues, they become a functioning, permanent part of your network's infrastructure. They carry the message for you organically.
Which completely reframes the purpose of audience interaction then. Feedback isn't just reaction anymore, it's architecture.
Yes. OPS views every comment, share, piece of feedback as a data beam reinforcing the structure. It's not just noise, it's construction material.
So they actively try to harvest feedback.
In layers, yes. Surface comments, deeper thoughts, even private referrals.
Yeah.
Each bit of feedback collected is seen as reinforcing the network's stability and density.
That explains why they value conversation metrics, sometimes even more than direct sales. The idea that talk builds roads inside the network.
That's the principle. If people are talking about it, they're building the pathways for future success, even if they don't buy immediately. It's long-term infrastructure building.
Okay, so for the listener, the practical step is stop seeing your audience as just consumers. Engage them like co-designers.
Right. Ask them specific things. What did you love? What part confused you? What would you change? Be direct.
Because every answer, positive or negative, adds a data point, a node of understanding.
And extends the network grid. You're literally expanding the architecture with every genuine interaction.
This leads us nicely into the final, perhaps most advanced concept, the network mindset. Viewing OPS, or any network built like this, as a kind of neural network.
Yeah, like a brain. Every person is a neuron. Every connection, every interaction is a signal firing.
And when enough signals fire together, synchronously.
That's when you get emergent collective intelligence.
Yeah.
It's more than just hype. The system starts to learn. It figures out what works, what resonates, what converts systemically.
And the mechanism for that learning, that self-improvement, is recursion.
Recursion. The system learns from itself.
But what does that look like practically? What's feeding back into the system?
It's the success and failure data. From every affiliate, every campaign, every piece of content. The network logs what worked. The timing, the tone, the audience segment, the platform.
Uh-huh.
And that data collectively trains the network, making the next campaign slightly better, statistically more likely to succeed.
So the network genuinely evolves. It gets smarter with each post.
That's the idea, mutual evolution. The network provides the structure for your efforts, and your data improves the network's future predictions and capability.
Okay, so the final action item for someone trying to implement this, which sounds maybe a bit administrative, but is actually vital, is rigorously tracking what worked after each push. The exact timing, the tone, the audience response, and feeding that insight back into your planning.
You're essentially teaching your own little ecosystem how to be more effective next time.
You are making the next decision statistically better informed than the last.
Okay, let's pull this all together. The big overarching takeaway from these OPS sources seems to be this. Real scalable influence isn't primarily about individual charisma. It lives, predictably, in the infrastructure. Yes, Oxford Private Studio seems to have successfully engineered that infrastructure. And the design works because everyone, artists, affiliates, the audience participates. Every share is a deliberate connection. Every payout is proof the structure is functioning as intended.
The design itself guarantees the reach and the sticking power.
And the source material sums it up so well. The network is the message. The message is momentum. Which leaves a really critical question for you, the listener.
Right.
How does truly understanding a network's design change how you think about connecting with people? And maybe more importantly, what kind of structural momentum are you intentionally building right now?
That's the core principle to reflect on. Don't just chase scale, build the architecture first. The influence will follow the structure. We'll catch you next time for the deep dive.